Homedawgs? My name is Gokey Gamer, and welcome everybody to this video where this week we're going to be taking on Darkstar and the Cinnabar Cynicals in week 4 of the NBBL. Now, you might be wondering, why is it looking like this? Why does it say nose post-com in the thing down there? Okay, long story short, the leak that we had this game last week as of recording this, it was very rough for me, to put it lightly. There was just a lot of chaos going on. Thankfully, it's more or less resolved, not necessarily in a perfect way, but it's more or less resolved. And it was very heavily affecting me the day we battled. It was like the middle of the week. It was very heavily affecting me, and I could tell based on my commentary as well as my playstyle, like the way I was playing, I was still being heavily affected by that. And I was like, okay, I don't want my commentary to ruin the experience of the battle, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to do a post-commentary. You guys still see my face because I did have a face cam in this video, and I was just like, you know what, I'm going to keep the face cam. So you are going to get my face cam, which is great, and yeah, so this is also not going to be heavily edited. Shoutouts to Glitch City for doing the music for this video, just because it makes my life a lot easier, because this week is performance week for me, and I've got a lot on my plate. So, with all that out of the way, I hope you guys understand. Again, I'm very sincerely sorry that we are doing a post-commentary for this video. Thankfully, this is the only video this week that will have post-commentary, I'm pretty sure, so that'll be very great as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's a shout-outs to Darkstar as well, for being so willing to schedule around my crazy schedule. But yes, anyways, with all that being said, let's go ahead, talk about the matchup, and then get into the team. So, my opponent has got Latias, Alolan Ninetales, Gliscor, Slitherwing, Hawlucha, Diancie, Paldean Tauros, Blaze, Inteleon, we've got Articuno, we've got Serena, and we've got Copperajah. The Terra Captains are Slitherwing with Terra Fighting, Fairy, and Dragon, Terra Diancie with Terra Fairy, Steel, and Fighting, and Terra Articuno with Flying, Fairy, and Ground. Now, if you guys have been a fan of the channel for a while, you'll know back, like, all the way back to, like, my very first league that I uploaded on this channel, I had Terra Diancie, and I swept twice with it. Diancie got, like, 2 6-0 games with it. So, Diancie is an extremely powerful Terra Captain, and I also have it in the SDA. And let's just say, a little bit of a spoiler for the battle going up tomorrow, let's just say Terra Diancie puts in work. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But yes, overall, it's a very terrifying team. I am extremely scared of the Terra Captains. All the Terra Captains are very, very scary. Latias, Gliscor can be very annoying to deal with as well. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. I also changed my Terra Stellar on kommo-o to Terra Fairy, just because I was like, Terra Stellar is just not going to help me at all. Like, I liked it at first, just because of, like, the immense power I would get with each move, but I was like, okay, it's not worth it here. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the game. Yeah. Another thing as well, another reason I'm doing face cam is because I felt like I did not look that good in the, face cam when we battled, so I was like, I gotta look, it's gross, so that's what we're doing. So you can see my opponent's got Serena, Copperajah, the Gliscor, Slitherwing, Diancie, and Alolan Ninetales. I was surprised not to see Latias, although I guess it's not too surprising considering I have a Chien-Pao. I was kind of surprised to see Copperajah. In hindsight, I do think that was a bit of bad prep on my part to be surprised to see Copperajah. Copperajah is a very good switch into Chien-Pao as long as they don't have a fighting move, so there is that. But yes, in general, this is a very, very scary matchup for me. I believe what I do here is I lead off with Missing Name. The reason it's called Missing Name is because I haven't gotten my girlfriend to, I need to contact my girlfriend and be like, hey, can you give me a nickname for these Pokemon? Oh, actually, I do lead Bastiodon because it's the best defensive play, because I'm worried about an Alolan Ninetales or Aurora Veil lead. So we go ahead and lead that, and as you can tell, they do lead with the Alolan Ninetales. So I don't overthink it, I just go for a Heavy Slam here, just so that way I can just get damage off on something, or knock this thing straight out. They do opt to swap here, so that is fine by me. We're preventing the Veil from going up. We do see Toph, which is going to be the Gliscor, so we're going to get a little bit of chip damage off on this thing, and we will see eventually that this thing is in fact Poison Heal, so that little bit of chip doesn't really matter ultimately, which is very sad. So here I have to debate whether I go for a Metal Burst, what do I do here, you know, kind of thing. I end up deciding to go into Mandibuzz, because Mandibuzz is always my guaranteed play. I am worried about a Toxic, but I do eventually decide to go into Mandibuzz here. Let's see, and they click Knockoff, so they get rid of my lefties, which is fine ultimately. We do still have Roost, if I remember correctly. and they do have Poison Heal. But if this thing is offensive, then it can have a chance to break my substitute. If it is not offensive, then it won't be able to break my substitute. So, and if it tries to set up with Swords Dance, I have Foul Play. Mandibuzz is meant to be the exact answer for this thing. So that's kind of the goal. I will say, slight spoilers, a lot of this battle is Mandibuzz versus Gliscor. So, we are going to, I believe, click Substitute here. Yep, we do click the Substitute. As my opponent goes for, let's see, oh, they went for the attack first because they still outsped, which is something to keep in mind as well, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Oh no, they just go for Protect. They go for Protect to see what I do, which is good prep on their end. I believe I am EV to outspeed Gliscor, if it is not max speed, or if it's not like speed invested, I should say. If it's not speed invested, I should outspeed this thing. So we do get our sub off for free, which is great. And I'm like, okay, I can go for a Foul Play, I can go for a Roost, I can do some things here. And what I do here is I ultimately decide to go for a Toxic, predicting a switch. Unfortunately, my opponent doesn't switch, and hindsight, it's like, okay, they didn't necessarily, like, you know, that is fair. And they do go for a Thunder Fang, so if I had gone for a Roost there, then I would have been back up at full HP. Unfortunately, the Thunder Fang does fade the substitute, so that is what it is there. And really good prep on my opponent's part, for sure. And I'm like, okay, what do I do here? Do I go for a Roost? Do I go for a Substitute? I think eventually what I decide to do is go for a Substitute. Or no, I go for a Roost. That's right, I meant Roost. I go for a Roost here to get back up to full. And predicting another Thunder Fang or possibly a switch. They do go for Thunder Fang, which is not going to do that much damage because we did get rid of our Flying type, but we do get paralyzed. This paralysis is a very big deal. Granted, we can't get Toxic, which is obviously great, but it's still a problem because of the fact that we're paralyzed now. We're slower than Gliscor, and this is going to be a lot harder to wall this thing as well as other Pokemon on my opponent's team. So I'm like, okay, I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and go for a Substitute. They do go for Thunder Fang again, which they do miss, which I think is fair because I got paralyzed, and we do thankfully get our Substitute up. And I believe what happens here is a little bit of an exchange. If I remember correctly, let's see here. They do go for a Thunder Fang to try and break the sub, which is fine. And I believe it does fade, unfortunately. And I can't remember if we fire off a Roost or if we fire off a Foul Play. I think we fire off a Roost. Yes, we do fire off a Roost here. And I believe next turn we do go for, oh, okay, here we go. So I believe here we go for a Foul Play, if I remember correctly. Yes, we do, oh no, we go for a Substitute, never mind. I thought we went for Foul Play there, but we actually went for a Substitute. The reason I thought we went for Foul Play is because I thought we went for Foul Play on the turn that the Caporaja switches in here. So we are going to see a swap here into Caporaja, and, you know, it is what it is. And unfortunately, as you'll soon see in a second, oh wait, no, we don't get paralyzed. Okay, never mind, I couldn't remember. I'm trying to remember this battle, I remembered it wrong. Whoopsie daisy. But I believe here I do go for a Foul Play. This is where I go for the Foul Play and I get paralyzed. That's right. I go for the Foul Play here and I do get paralyzed. We do outspeed this thing, but this is a very crucial paralysis miss. Paralysis. There's a very crucial paralysis just because of the fact that we have our sub gone. This thing is still at full HP. It could have taken a lot of damage from a Foul Play. So the fact that it didn't get hit with a Foul Play is massive. That was a very unfortunate paralysis. I would have much rather gotten paralyzed versus the Gliscor. So at this point I'm like, okay, crap. I'm just going to go into Bastiodon. Bastiodon can take pretty much any hit that this thing wants to throw at me. I could have Bulldoze, but that's fine. It could have Body Press as well. We do see the Play Rough here, which unfortunately does break our Sturdy, which is something we have to keep in mind. And here, I decide to go for none other than Metal Burst, because I'm like, okay, I can deal a crap ton of damage to this thing. I'm going to go for Metal Burst, I believe is what I do here, because I can't touch this thing any other way. So I'm like, okay, time to click Metal Burst, time to see if we can 1v1 this thing. So I go for the Metal Burst in a second. Come on, click the button, click the button, click the button, stop thinking, click the button. There we go, okay. We go for Metal Burst, and we move first, because it's not negative priority. So that was a mistake on my end. And, yeah, we essentially sacked off our Bastiodon because of poor prep. I did not realize that Metal Burst is not a negative priority move. Now I know, which is great. But yeah, that was an extremely unfortunate realization. I was not too happy about it. So, Sebastian will go down ultimately to this, Pokemon. I do go for Metal Burst again, just in case. Somehow this thing still doesn't outspeed me, even though I'm at -1, which... Oh, wait, no, actually, I forgot this in the game as well. But, Sheer Force prevents the speed-lowering nature of the bulldoze from triggering in favor for more damage. So we didn't get our speed lowered, but yeah, I just went for Metal Burst again just because it was like, well, I'm not going to do any damage with Heavy Slam, it's no point. So I'm like, okay, now I have to think about, do I scare this thing out with kommo-o, because I'm Terra Fairy, but I don't have a fighting move. So I do not have a fighting move. Do I scare it out? Do I go into Weasel Town for Sacred Sword? It doesn't do enough damage. Crap. Okay, I need to go into something to whittle this thing down, so that way eventually I can either KO it with Chien-Pao or scare it out with kommo-o. That's kind of my goal. So I actually go into a Araquanid here, thinking, okay, this thing can't do anything to Water Balloon! It can't do anything to Water Balloon! So I'm like, okay, this is fine. We're gonna make do with it, and I believe I click Liquidation, or no, I click Substitute here. I do click Substitute. So I go for Substitute here to see what this thing wants to do. They do stay in, which surprised me. However, they do end up going for a Supercell Slam, which is unfortunate because that means I'm not gonna be able to tank that much damage. I'm not gonna be able to tank hits very well versus this thing. Copperage was not a Pokemon I prepped that much for, and we do see Life Orb as well, which we saw earlier, I'm pretty sure. But actually, no, this is the first time we saw it because yeah. But yes, this was an extremely unfortunate situation for us. I realize now, crap, I can't tank a hit from this thing. I will risk a Play Rough if I go into kommo-o now, which is a problem, and also kommo-o can't KO the Copperaja, because I genuinely did not think Copperaja was coming to this game. So I'm like, okay, crap, what do I do? I'm gonna go ahead and go into Raichu. That's pretty much all I can do at this point. So I go ahead, switch out, go into Raichu. Unfortunately, we are static and not the Lightning Rod, so we can hope for a static here. We do see another Supercell Slam, which does half of my HP, which is terrifying, and I'm like, crap. We are Choice Scarf as well. Raichu cannot deal that much damage, unfortunately, but I'm like, okay, the most neutral play is Surf. I'm going to go for a Surf. They do opt to stay in. I was hoping to get Gliscor on a switch, but they do opt to stay in, and they do click Bulldoze, and you can't see my face cam right now, but I am struggling a lot. This is about the time that I'm just looking upset and everything, so yeah. Unfortunately, this thing is still not in range of any attacks that I can deal, which means this thing is still going to put in a crap ton of work, which terrifies me. It ultimately very much terrifies me. I go into, I think what I do here, I go into kommo-o to try and scare this thing out. Realistically, I could have gone into Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz does still outspeed, but I do risk a paralysis with Mandibuzz, so that is something to keep in mind. I don't know if a Foul Play would have even KO'd. I don't think it would have, unfortunately, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go into kommo-o, scare this thing out. I can't remember if I do Terra Fairy here, and I just click Clangorous Soul, because I'm like, okay, this thing is not going to come in against kommo-o. I need to weaken down the rest of this team. I need to start getting damage off on the rest of this team. I need to scare things out. So I go for Clangorous Soul here, as my opponent does switch out thinking I have a fighting move, and they actually go into a Alolan Ninetales, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. We do have a Steel move for this thing, and it won't be able to outspeed me anymore because of the fact that I am at +1 speed. So I'm going to go ahead, fast forward a little bit to where we click the button, we get our Omni Boost, blah, 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 and here we go. So we get our Omni Boost here, which is really great. Obviously, very, very, very nice. Very much a fan of that. And here I just go for Iron Head. Very simple, very easy play. I go for Iron Head because I can. It KOs this thing 100% of the time. And bada bing, bada boom, sure enough, it does KO, which is absolutely amazing for us. Getting a kill on the board for our team is really great. Also, this prevents screens from going up. Full simplicity, hazards are, the Aurora Veil is not going up. And Chien-Pao now has a +1 defensive boost, which is also important to note as well. Now here, I believe Gliscor is what comes in. It is going to be Gliscor. Gliscor is going to be what comes in here. And now I'm like, okay, this is going to be a little bit annoying to deal with, but I'm like, this is fine. I can weaken this thing down considerably with Dragon Claw and Terra Blast. However, I do make sure to not go for Terra Blast after I click Dragon Claw because of the fact that I do not want to reveal that I don't have a fighting move yet. They do click Knockoff here, which is fine, ultimately. We do lose our Clear Amulet, but the Clear Amulet wasn't going to be that useful this game. We had it for Paldean and Tauros, so it's fine to lose that item. So I'm like, okay, clicking Dragon Claw again, let's get this thing weak down. And it goes for Protect. Not fun. You know, it is what it is. So I'm like, okay, well, that's unfortunate, but at the very least, the next turn, I can go ahead and click Dragon Claw again. So that's what I do. I click Dragon Claw again after a bunch of turns go by, after a bunch of things go by. Or no, I click Iron Head. I go for Iron Head Flinches. That's what I do. I go for Iron Head Flinches here. We already revealed Iron Head with the Alolan Ninetales, so I'm like, at this point, I'm hoping for a flinch. That'd be amazing. And we do get the flinch, which is absolutely massive for us. Now, I have to think about, do I think that this Pokemon is going for Protect again, or even possibly a switch? I do think so, so I click Clangorous Soul. I'm going to speed past this a little bit. And you're going to see, unfortunately, we got the play wrong. They do go for an Earthquake. which is very rough because they're of the fact that they do have priority on their team with first impression on the Slither Wing. They do go for Protective this time as well, which means we might not even KO at +2. This was very, very rough for us. If we had just gone for the Dragon Claw, then there's a very good chance that this Gliscor could have just died before firing off an Earthquake. It is what it is. It's very unfortunate, but this was just yet another really great play by my opponent. And honestly, I don't even know if a Dragon Claw would have KO'd, so Earthquake was just always the right play there, I think. We do get a really large chunk of damage off. They do go for Thunder Fang, and Gliscor does pick up the KO against the Scaly Chicken, unfortunately. It is what it is, but at the very least, Gliscor is heavily chipped now, so now hopefully we can switch something in to deal enough damage to it. I can't remember what I switch in. I believe I just switch in. Yes, I do just switch in the Chien-Pao. So I'm like, okay, what do I think is going to come in here? Do I think they're going to sack this thing off? Can I KO this thing with a Crunch? I ultimately decide to go for a Crunch because I'm like, okay, Dancy's probably not coming in here. They do have to swap and save this thing, which is important to note, while I do still have a Chien-Pao. They go into Maki, which I believe is going to be the Slither Wing. If I got for Psychic Fangs there, that would have been insanity. Unfortunately, I did not, and I just went for Crunch. Or even Ice Spinner. Ice Spinner would have put this thing below half, which would have been absolutely amazing. So, my opponent just did, yet again, an amazing read there. I really didn't think the Slither Wing was going to come in. I'm like, okay, I'm going to swap here. I'm going to go into Water Balloon. I'm probably going to end up sacking this thing off to see what this thing does. And it goes for First Impression. I'm like, okay, that's fine. It is what it is. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for an attack here. And, let's see here. They do opt to swap here as I click Liquidation, and they actually go back into Kaparaja. They go into Kaparaja, and they die to a Liquidation. Absolutely amazing play for us. The fact that this thing is dead opens up the Chien-Pao a lot more. Granted, DNC is still a major issue. However, the fact that it is dead now is absolutely amazing. And, like, that helps the rest of my team out considerably. So I'm like, okay, this is great. This is absolutely great. They send back in Slither Wing. So I'm like, okay, very interesting. They're probably just going to click First Impression again. I don't have a switch in for this. I'm going to go ahead and click Liquidation. And I think that's what I do here, right? Yes, I click Liquidation. And then I realize, and then I see Close Combat, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's a lot of damage. Okay. And then I realize that this thing, there's a decent chance that this thing is Scarfed, because of the fact that they swapped out with the First Impression. So I'm like, okay. Do I consider that as a possibility? Do I consider that as the possibility that this thing is choice Scarfed? I think about it, and I eventually decide, you know what? I'm going to go into Weasel Town here. I don't think this thing is Scarfed. I think that it is just going to be Weasel Town. I think that's just, that's what's going to happen. So I go into Weasel Town here, and I go ahead and click the Ice Spinner button, I'm pretty sure. I think I just go straight up for Ice Spinner at this point, if I remember correctly. Yes, I do just go for Ice Spinner, and they are Scarfed. They are Scarfed, winning them the game. It was 4-0 for them. This was rough. This was a very rough. I made several bad plays in this game, and I do hate how I played. Again, my headspace was not fully in the game, which again, it is what it is. When you do draft league battles, it's important to focus on the game and just kind of. It's like the thing where you know, it's like when you go. At least for me, when I do dance and stuff like that. When I go into dance, I try to put everything that's happening outside of dance and put it to the side, and even putting aside feelings I have about dance. We also get paralyzed here, which just sucks. If we didn't get paralyzed there, then we might have been able to do something. But ultimately, particularly if it was Terra Steel Dancing, which I don't think it was. I think it was Terra Fairy, but we ultimately lost anyways. So it is what it is. And they also revealed Terra Fighting Slither. So, but anyways, what I was going to say was, I always try to put everything that's not related to what I'm doing on the side. This particular game, and for what was going on around the time that this game happened, it was very hard to do so, because it so heavily affected me, and I'm not going to lie, it was very hard, but that did ultimately result in me making some poor plays, poor decisions, poor team prep, and my opponent was able to very heavily take advantage of that. Congratulations to Dark for doing such an amazing job with this game. But yeah, so ultimately we do go 1-3. This is a very, very rough loss for us, but I do think we can still make a comeback. It wouldn't be the first time. We could go from 1-3 to 5-3 very easily, and I think we have the team to do so. So I'm very excited. I am hopeful for the future. I know the music is probably gone by this point, but I just want to say thank you all so much for the support, and I really hope you all understand why I decided to make the decisions that I made regarding that. Again, I am very sorry that I had to do it this way, but Congratulations to Dark once again. Absolutely stellar playing, absolutely amazing predictions, absolutely amazing prep, which is also worthy to note as well. Dark played extremely well predicting me, and they were able to make this a 4-0 victory, which is very helpful for them in the playoff running as well. So, again, it is what it is. Not much we can do about it, but thank you all sincerely so much for the support. I really hope you all enjoy, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Peace out, mates!